I actually got it pointed about the right direction. Simply amazing. Checking audio and visual quality. Yeah, right now Eva's face is not real pretty because it's been messed up. I mean, it looks like she's been in an accident or something. But anyhow, and I say it as you said, honey bunny. It also it distresses her that people focus on that or whatever. But it's perfectly understandable. And I say it is supposed to heal. Yeah, sounds like you need to go in there, honey bunny. Uh, so anyhow, oh, um, Eva's condition seems to be okay. Gets her next radiation treatment tomorrow. That will be the last one. Lately, she's been sleeping a lot, 18, 20 hours a day. However, it seems to be natural restorative sleep. Okay. It doesn't seem to be a complication or a problem or whatever. It's just a matter of, hey, Sarah, you made it early tonight. Say it just seems to be, her body's taking a beating, and so it wants to rest and recuperate. So, I say she's been doing a lot of sleeping. I've been trying to keep an eye on her when she's sleeping and make sure she remembers. Well, she wakes up and drinks on a regular basis. Okay, because her she has to stay hydrated. She can't drink a lot at any one time. Her stomach is a bit touchy right now, so she has to kind of do a lot of sipping. Um, we're working on getting some more actual food in her. Um, just drinking is not the best thing, although they do have some protein shakes and stuff nowadays that she's been trying to get in that help. But she's losing weight, but nothing extraordinary or dangerous. Um, I would say that things are going pretty well. Uh, the the staff seems pleased with her progress and condition, and I see no reason to be concerned about anything at this time. Yeah, excessively. It's like, yeah, it sucks. I'm real proud of her. She's been toughing it out really well. Okay, I think she's done better than I would have. Okay, but then that doesn't surprise me. So that's what's going on there. Silver continues to go up. I don't have a good prediction as to where it's going to go, but it could go pretty big. Don't know. AI Silver Guy is running around making videos by the score. And of course, his
$100 by Chinese New Year, the year of the metal horse, the year of the fire horse.
Did anyone hear that? I'm not sure. Oh, wait a minute. I got to get this. Probably a good idea to get the microphone over here. Is that sounding better, folks? Nobody gave me an indication that the sound was bad. Yeah, she's a pretty tough girl. The when she did her ringing the bell for the chemotherapy stuff. They said that was the most animated anyone's ever done it, which doesn't surprise me a bit. So anyhow, the silver, we shall see. It is getting kind of frustrating to have such really good quality animation now, where you really have to look carefully to figure out and say, yep. But anyhow, so that's the question there. I did get some assays back so far from the solid samples I sent off, and without going into too much detail for confidentiality reasons, the general grade of the concentrates they sent me was a little bit lower than before. The grade of the head ore is way lower than it was before. The tails are still doing what they were before, i.e. still, significant money still going out in the tails. And the silver to gold ratio is higher than it was previously. I'm not sure why. Okay. It's just an observable fact. So I've got that in, and I will start tomorrow to fire assay one of the samples. Now, I'm not, don't take this as negative. I don't know exactly how Hittle is assaying the sulfides, and I have absolutely no ability to critique it one way or another if I did. So what I'm trying to do is getting some confirmation, because it seems like the last time the roasted cons, if I recall correctly, actually gave me more gold back than theoretically the fire assay showed was there. So I know that, I know that assaying sulfides can be tricky. So anyhow, it's, I just want to do it just to try it. I'm going to take 1/2 assay ton, roast it in a evaporating dish, ceramic evaporating dish, and then just fire assay it, see what happens. So I'm just double checking some stuff, and plus I have bottle rolls that will confirm how much is there. Now, my assumption is if I have a bottle roll that says there's X amount of gold in the solids, and I have a fire assay that shows there's 1.5 X amount of gold in the solids, I'm going to go with the fire assay and assume that my recovery into solution is inefficient for some reason. There's lots of reasons. On the other hand, if the fire assay says that there's X amount of gold and the solution shows 1.5 times X, I'm guessing probably the fire assay was challenging and therefore not perfect. Okay, that's the first assumption. What I can do at that point too is when I do a bottle roll, a resin and pulp bottle roll on that same material, I can then fire assay the resin. Again, all three of these numbers should line up. Okay. If they're not, by comparing any two to the other one, it should give you a clue as to what's going cattywampus and why, And so that's why I'm, gonna try this and see how it works. Because I say I've got a fire assay of the solids. I'll have a fire assay of my own of the solids. I will have a solution assay of the solids, and I will have a resin recovery from solution of the solids. So all four of those numbers, in theory, should be pretty close together. I wouldn't be surprised if they're different, but that will tell me what is going sideways. I would not be surprised at all if it's a little richer than what it was. Now, the testing of solutions with the zinc wire seemed effective, but a little more tricky than the copper wire. And looking at this, I can say, wow, it's got a lot more silver in it. So if you're plating silver along with the gold, it's going to look different. And I think that's probably what's happening. So I'm going to try using different metals. First thing I'm going to try, because it's simple and easy, is basically solder. It's lead. It's got some tin in it and a few other things, no doubt. But lead is farther down on the electronegativity scale than copper or zinc. So it should be a little more selective, a little bit slower. If that doesn't work, I'm going to see about getting some silver wire and seeing when that's there. Because theoretically, silver should not plate silver. Okay? Just shouldn't happen. But silver might plate gold, probably pretty slowly. Their electronegativity is very similar. But anyhow, the other thing you could do is take a silver wire and add just a little bit of voltage to it. I'm going to play around with this a little bit and see if I can come up with something that's reliable, simple, and easy to do. We shall see. The amount of hydrogen peroxide is taking. Hey, Mr. Virtue. Seems excessive, way above the stoichiometric ratio. So I have a feeling that what's actually happening, you're getting some conversion of iron sulfide to iron oxides. But you're also getting catalytic decomposition of the hydrogen peroxide. Because I was just putting so much stuff on there. It's like, for God's sakes, when is this going to stop? And it didn't seem to stop. And yet, looking at the pulp under a microscope, it's like, there's what appears to be some pretty nice clean pyrite there, visually. It may be possible, I don't know, that when I'm using the hydrogen peroxide, some of the sulfides eat away until there's a clean silver coating left on them, and the silver doesn't dissolve in hydrogen peroxide. I'm not sure. But say the iron oxides are real easy to remove by simple magnetic. I did that. It's like, okay, I just take a magnet and go over this. I take away everything but all the funny silvery stuff. Not sure exactly what's going on. Not sure what the best way to deal with it is. There's a couple of things we have the equipment to do down there that gives us some options initially. Number one, we have this little mini Molino ball mill there that we can just let it sit in there and beat the bejesus out of it. Turn it to 300 or 400 mesh, get a lot better exposure, etc., like that. And that might work. If we're setting up a roasting thing, that's going to take time. Okay. On the other hand, if it's rich enough and worthwhile enough, we could theoretically do a little hydrogen peroxide pre-treat and then hit it with Eco-Golex because it worked in the past. Okay. Now this stuff here has higher sulfide content, but nevertheless, we might be able to get the majority out pretty easily. And then again, just stockpile it again for later when we get a roasting apparatus. And one thing I'm really considering on the roasting apparatus is to, where we go? Here we go. You see it? Yeah, you can see it. Just right there. We take a piece of pipe. Is that easy enough to see? Close enough. And you put a jacket around it. And you put flame in here. Insulation out here. Just to keep the heat. The idea is this inner pipe is real quickly going to get up in the yellow heat range. Getting up 1,500 to 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Then if you just trickle, because again, these sulfides are small. They're 100 mesh minus. If you just trickle sulfides in here, they will flash and oxidize before they even get to the bottom. Okay? And then it just comes out the bottom. That's my thought. We shall see. I saw this phenomenon happening in the furnace when I was trying to stir stuff in there, and it seemed to work pretty effectively. I take a spoonful and sprinkle it, flash, So what temperature? Somewhere between 1,500 and 2,000 Fahrenheit, I believe. Should do it. Somewhere in the yellow to yellow-white temperature range. See what's the most efficient and effective. If this was like 2 feet high, I don't know. Shouldn't be too hard at all to do that. And the nice thing is it only has one moving part, and that would be just the feeder here. That's it. And that you could easily set up a hopper here with a small diameter screw feeder in the bottom of the little gear motor here. Be real easy to do. Only one moving part. That would probably be a propane flame, Honey Bunny. I'm thinking with these, what you call them, torches, actually angle them in, and so it's spiraling up as it goes. I'm pretty sure that's pretty easy to accomplish. Take a look inside of one of those furnaces that does that. You have a furnace, basically a cylinder with a flame going like this. Yeah, it gets pretty hot. So I don't think that'll be terribly challenging. You could probably, I would think if you had one burner, say in the bottom here, just angled up a little bit and kind of tangential. So it just makes a vortex that goes like that all the way up. That should work just fine. What's holding the ore in the tube long enough? Air resistance, gravity, and the fact that it takes a fraction of a second to go literally poof. I mean,
So I was sprinkling some in there, and it didn't get 2 inches in the furnace before it had gone pow. It was quite dramatic. That's what gave me the idea. So it seems to go really, really quickly. Okay. So if you have 100 mesh, fine sand dropping through air, it's not going to move at, 32 feet per second square, especially as I'm presuming that since this is atmospheric temperature here, and this is going to be a lot higher than atmospheric temperature there, there's going to be a draft going up there. You may actually have to throttle that to keep it from just blowing everything out the top. On the other hand, it may be the sort of thing where you inject it here and then have like a dust collector up there. I don't know. Haven't got to that point yet. But the idea of small sulfide particles being subjected to intense radiant heat seems to work more effectively than I would have thought. I say it really seems, as they're falling through the air, they just literally explode into like a star shell. Pow! Quite amazing. So that's my thought. I'll play some games with the furnace first, now that I got one that's highly reliable, and do some stuff. And we will see what happens. But that's my thought. If nothing else, roasting is cheaper than hydrogen peroxide if you're using any real quantity. The boys were looking for something fast and not very capital intensive. Yeah. I'll probably do some experimenting with that tomorrow or the next day, where I'm just pouring it into the evaporating dish inside the furnace. And what do I have that would work well as a long handled spoon? I don't know. I'll play a few games. I bet you I can figure something out. I don't think it's that terribly challenging. If nothing else, yeah, I could probably just take a little, I've got the little ceramic crucibles. Take one of those, dip some stuff in it, and take it in and shake it like that. Should work. Yeah, something to that. Something on that order, honey bunny. Yeah, I don't think it'll have to be that temperature, because I've never got to 2300 in any of my furnaces yet. David, I know there will be plenty enough draft for oxygen, because basically it's like a chimney, and you've got this heat there, and if the bottom's open and the top's open, it's going to be sucking air in the bottom and exiting out the top because heat rises. What the speed and everything is, whether we'll need to throttle it back or not, I don't know. Yeah, so I say we shall see. But my thought is this method here should essentially work. Not sure what all the details are, but the nice thing is you've only got one moving part. I like that. One small moving part. The one thing I can see that might be a real problem is this area right here. You might be fusing the sulfides there or something. You may want to try and plug right here because it's just so hot. But we shall see what we shall see. Anyhow, I'm pretty confident that in the long run we're going to go roasted. I remember during some of the earlier tests, I haven't looked up at the lab notes yet, but I know that the roasting did add some complications to it. I forgot exactly what they were. Higher eco-Goldex consumption, something. Now, another thing that it could be the reason it was higher eco-Goldex consumption is because if you're dissolving more gold, you're going to need more Eco Goldex. So hard to tell. But anyhow, so I say that's my thought, and we shall see what the situation is. I've got 4 bottle rolls, which are just hydrogen peroxide digestion, then Eco Goldex. The 2 with the highest grade here also had substantially higher Eco Goldex consumption, enough so that I added Eco Goldex at the end of the 24 hours of bottle rolling before I took it up to the 48. And again, that is consistent with more metal being dissolved. Okay. That may, in fact, be a fairly reliable method of roughing how much gold you got there. Okay. I don't know yet. That's pretty preliminary. But Eva will tell you that out at the mill, the higher grade stuff, you know, if it was eating up more Eco Goldex, it's like, this is going to be good stuff. And she was usually right. She might have been always right. I don't remember precisely. But anyhow, so that's my thought. I've got the bottle roll solutions are sitting at Alpine right now waiting to be processed. And now that I've got this, the question becomes, do I just go ahead and put the resin in there and go for it? I very well might, because I can't do a whole lot until I get those solution assays back, except that. And I probably will, but I haven't had time to give it much thought. Eva has been my focus. Her condition is unusual, and I don't feel comfortable essentially not being with her 24/7 right now. You know, as such, there's certain things I just haven't worried too much about. As a matter of fact, there's grocery shopping I wanted to do like last Wednesday that I didn't get done till today while she was getting her infusion, because it wasn't critical. You know, it wasn't terribly important, and I don't see any reason to leave her alone at all right now. Presumably, in the near future, she will start to recover well enough that, you know, she's not going to have this kind of, you know, sleeping 18 to 20 hours a day or things like that, where I would feel comfortable leaving her alone for an hour or two. But I don't right at the moment. As her body has taken a beating. I just put some, what do you call it? Solder in some solution before I started. Let me see what it looks like. Okay, answer to that question. Don't see any reaction at all on the solder. And So I think it's just not intense enough. It's not creating enough of a voltage. But it might be possible to induce a voltage just enough to use it for testing. I don't know. Again, I got all kinds of things I'm trying to do here all at once. And one of those is get a nice, reliable test at reasonable concentrations for stubborn solution. How do you keep a jackass in suspense? Ha, 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 ha. You're mean to me. You're mean, David. You're mean. See the tears? See the tears? Anyhow, so I'll say I got a number of things I'm working on. I still have to achieve a number I'm confident on and how much resin to add to how much solution. And I say there's a number of ways I can play this getting the gold out of solution game. Anywhere from more than one addition of resin to you leach the ore, let it settle, pour off the liquid, and send that through columns, then throw it back in the ore, throw resin in pulp, and do that to get the final, scavenge it. So there's different ways that should work, but I don't know A, how efficient the different ones are, and B, how much hassle is it to do this as opposed to that? Is it worth it, sort of thing. I need more detailed information to make that kind of value judgment. But those are the sort of things I can do with these assays. I can come up with a rough maximum that should be in solution, and therefore the amount of gold I should have to recover into resin. That should give me how much resin I need to put in there and go from there. Yeah, I'll probably do that. I'll worry about it tomorrow. Right now, I'm also distracted because there's a lot of interesting news going on 6 ways from Sunday right now. So I'm spending a lot of attention on that. And, let's say there's a lot of action going on right now that could have profound implications in the intermediate future. And then those could have pretty profound implications for the not too distant future. And so we shall see what we shall see. What else we got? No, Mr. Virtue, it's not just news. It's the evolution of the environment that will affect me. Some to a lot, some to a little. Some of these things may be pretty profound. Other things, while they may be pretty dramatic in terms of themselves, will have very little to no effect on me personally. Okay, so that's part of the game, trying to figure out what's going on. And right now, it's hard to figure out where the truth is too. You have news sources that are so biased they're perfectly willing to knowingly lie. You have news sources that are so biased that they unconsciously mislead, either just kind of the way they naturally kind of spin it, or just what they're sorting for data. And so that makes it more and then the AI. I've noticed many channels now that appear to be AIs that just popped up that purport to be real people. But when you go back on the channel, you see it's only been here for 2 months. It's got 12 videos. And it's the same person sitting in front of the same background, or sometimes different background. It's the same person, so to speak. And occasionally they make mistakes. AI Silver Guy the other day, just yesterday, he was talking about something that happened like last year. And he said, the Biden administration. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't think Biden was the administration in 2025. So it's like, interesting. That's not the kind of mistake I would expect an AI to make, but I don't know enough about these things. But that's also interesting to see the sudden increase in these channels. And my natural tendency mentally is to say, okay, who's behind it and why? You know, I'm trying to figure that part out. It can help you figure out whether the information is correct or not, although a lot of it's just, I'm curious. You know, this is a new phenomenon. It's never happened in history before, at least not that we know of, not unless there was a civilizational collapse, 25,000 years ago or something that was somewhere near where we are right now. So no. Yes, but who's the person and why are they putting it in motion? That's my question. AI Silver Guy, I can tell what he is emphasizing, what the target of the information is, to induce the belief that silver is in short supply and is going to skyrocket in price. Okay. Now, that may very well be true. He may very well be someone like Eva, who it could even be a female. But somebody who believes that this is going to happen is just trying to let everyone know so they can take advantage of it and avoid getting crushed. I don't know. I'm curious. That wouldn't surprise me, honey bunny. There's a number of things happening that are complicated, and again, my mind, I'm a puzzle solver. That's my, the way my brain works. And so my mind wants to know who and why. And also, what is the truth? Okay. For example, right now in Iran, we have two different truths out there. One says that around Thursday, the demonstrations kind of peaked on the negative side, and since then the government has been regaining control, and now it's pretty mellowed out, and these are mainly pro-government protests. The other side, of course, says just the opposite. And I don't know which one's true or whether either one of them's true. It could be somewhere in the middle, and kind of complicated. I don't know. But again, with me, I just want to find out. It's the equivalent of a crossword puzzle, Yeah, I understand. But even there, when it comes to the Maduro arrest, kidnapping, whatever you want to call it, there are reports that at least one of the guards that was there, supposedly, said certain things happened, and apparently the American soldiers had technology and weapons that have heretofore been unseen. And then the question becomes, is he telling the truth? We got some really cool whiz-bang shit, some Buck Rogers stuff that we've never seen before? Or, as somebody else explain. Nah, it's just people who got bought off trying to explain why they didn't stop it. I don't know. To a certain extent, you're right. Politics does ruin everything, but it also influences everything. Oh, no doubt, honey bunny. Yeah. It's clear that there were people paid off and stuff, but the question is how much, and whether there is any truth whatsoever to this report. Again, it's a puzzle for me to, my mind is trying to figure out what is the truth, not just who's telling the truth. What is the truth? I don't know, but it's really, really fascinating to me. Maybe I'm just weird, but that's the way my mind works. Why did I come up with my method of hand panning? Because I knew it was possible, or at least I was convinced it was possible, because I had people telling me they'd seen something like that happen, but I couldn't figure out how to do it. So I just kept banging my head against the wall till I figured it out. Exactly, David. We may never know. That's part of the problem with trying to solve a puzzle like this. A lot of this stuff will probably become pretty much what you would call settled science in 10 or 20 years. But it may take that long. I have no idea. And what are all the complexities and moving parts and everything else? So you wind up with not only the puzzle, which is fun, but you're also trying to figure out which way stuff is going to go. Venezuela has lots of minerals. How's that going to work out? They're reported to have lots of oil, although several pretty good sources have said, that's bullshit. When Chavez was there, they lied and exaggerated by far how much oil there actually was. I don't know. One thing is pretty clear is Venezuelan oil is not ideal for most circumstances. It's not the kind of stuff you can just easily pump, put in a tanker, go somewhere, and everyone wants it. Okay? It's kind of complicated. Yeah, I say it's all these things are kind of, there's so many things happening right now that it's whoa. It's just crazy. It's well known for gold, silver. It's got, nickel apparently. It's got iron, but hell, lots of places have iron. That's no big deal. And everyone's talking about rare earths. But rare earths, as far as I understand, really aren't that rare. What is limitation is not so much the mining end, but the refining end. Hey, Zen Pop. How's it going? There may be, but mining rare earths in Greenland is going to be a lot more expensive than mining it in, say, Montana, which we've got them up here too, by the way. I don't know if you know this. So that's why I say it's not so much that they're rare, as they are. Now, somebody came up with a really good theory on the Greenland thing, and this one makes sense. This person was actually, ROTFL sort of thing. These people still haven't got Trump figured out. For years, he's been saying that Greenland is strategically important and needs to be defended, protected, and all this other stuff. But nobody wants to do it. Nobody wants to put the money and stuff to, fortify Greenland so that Putin can't take it or whatever, right? But then Trump says, we're going to have to go in and take Greenland. So now all of a sudden the European Union is saying, well, we better fortify Greenland to keep Trump from taking it. again, to me, this is just it's entertaining as hell. It's kind of like watching WWE, except it's for real. You know? That's entirely possible, honey bunny. I really don't know the strategic things there, but it makes sense. It doesn't seem unreasonable to me. But yeah, it's like, okay, well, if we got to protect it, keep the Ruskies and the Chinese out, you know, either you guys do it or we'll do it, but don't get in our way. It seems to me that Trump is smart enough. Now, maybe he's lost a bit in his age. Okay. That's always a possibility. But it seems to me he's smart enough that he wouldn't say these kind of highly provocative statements unintentionally, just because. It makes more sense to me, could be wrong, that he's doing it deliberately to create the reaction. You know? Not yet, Brian. Today we had a lot of medical stuff we had to deal with. Hadn't had time to go to the post office. We'll zing by tomorrow, and we'll see how that works. But yeah, it's like just some crazy shit. That's one reason I think gold and silver are going to be, at a minimum, climbing up. Okay. At least steady, maybe a lot more exciting than that. That's my belief, honey bunny, also. He doesn't just throw stuff out there. If he throws a verbal hand grenade out there, it's because he wanted to throw a verbal hand grenade out there. He's distracting. He's trying to create a reaction. He's shaping the battlefield, whatever. That's my thought. Okay. I don't think he's, you know, everyone says he's stupid. No, he's just really annoying. You know, notice how long the Apprentice stayed on the air once he left. You know, it's not only does he keep them on the back foot, but because he's so chaotic, and I mean that in the most precise way. He's so chaotic and therefore seemingly unpredictable that it really confuses the adversaries too, whether it be Democrats, Putin, whoever, you know? Yeah, he colors outside the lines. Yeah, he makes new lines up. Yeah, I would agree with that. There's lots of people who have been close to him for extended periods of time who do think he's a good person. I have no personal opinion. I personally don't like his method of public speaking. It's rhetorically uninspiring to me. Okay. But it seems to work sufficiently to do certain things. Okay. I say it's something different, honey bunny. He's a promoter. He's a natural promoter. That's why when he says, we had this perfect meeting, we had this fantastic this, we did this, that, and that. It's like, yeah, I don't need those adjectives. You know, first of all, nothing's ever perfect. And if it's so fantastic, why isn't it fixed? You know? In the long run, I would agree, honey bunny, although I have a feeling at times he's perfectly happy with someone to go against him because he knows that in the long run they'll regret those words. You know, I don't know why his political opposition, is so intensely disliking of him. Okay, to where they don't think They just react. And I mean, anytime when I do this, you're going to do that, I can control you. If I know I do this, you're going to do that, I am in control. Because if I want you to do that, this is what I do, and you're going to do it. As somebody said, if Trump will be complaining about all the oncologists he put out of work. You know, it's that reflexive and intense. And I think that doesn't work to their benefit. And I think they're foolish to fall for it. You know? But hey, that's their choice. A lot of people are ignorant right now. Okay. My personal viewpoint is, in general, leftists are less well educated than right wingers. Because in my opinion, left-wing ideology is generally based on ideas and opinions which are factually questionable, and ours try to be based on what you would call facts and reality. You do this, that happens. You do this, that happens. Therefore, if you want that to happen, you do this. But it's amazing. I mean, I was discussing the Minnesota situation with my daughter the other day. Hey, Jean-Francois. Entirely possible, Jean-Francois. I do not put it past him to actually be playing fourth dimensional chess, But I was talking to my daughter about the unfortunate situation in Minnesota, and she was not knowledgeable about the actual law of self-defense and such. And therefore she was believing certain things to be important when they're total non sequiturs. It doesn't matter in terms of whether it justifies self-defense what's in the mind of the driver of the car. What matters is what are the actions of the driver of that car, and do those actions justify the reaction of the officer? It doesn't matter that much what she was doing just before either. It is probative in terms of it indicates what her mindset is in terms of how she's looking at the officers or potentially looking at them. Another thing that nobody brings up is how much rhetoric have these officers been exposed to over the weeks and months that gives them a firm but non-conscious projection as to who these people opposing them are. If somebody's opposing me, they think this way and they want this to happen to me. How does that affect the situation? I don't know. It seems to me that the situation is even though the first bullet seems to be pretty clear cut, the other two are less clear cut. I'm not sure about the exact details on those follow-on shots. They were so fast. I suspect they're going to be, okay, once he fired the first shot, his training is to continue firing until the threat is neutralized. And so he's just doing reflex. And it was certainly fast enough to be reflex. I would not have tried to draw my gun. Okay. I can't do it that fast. I mean, well, I don't agree with what he did. He did it with extreme speed and skill. Okay. He has been training that. So that may be his trained reflex in that situation. That's what he's going to do. Okay. I would not. I would have tried to get either onto the hood of the car so that I can't get run over, or push myself off or whatever to get to the side, and say that's just, but the law doesn't say you have to do the smartest thing. The law says as long as what you did was justified, it's cool. you know. And I say, so to me, it's a complex situation that's not abundantly clear cut, but it's clear cut enough that it shouldn't be a big issue. I'm wondering if you have, let us say, her wife or the organizers were encouraging this person and working with them to obstruct ICE officers, which is apparently what they were doing previous to this last little incident, which is a crime. So basically, I saw someone today, some, politician say, she hadn't broken the law. Yes, she had. She'd committed a felony, obstructing federal officers. Now, they've been pretty much ignoring that lately, but she was not an innocent person. She was a criminal. She was a criminal trying to escape, if you want to look at it purely legally, And so that situation is pretty obvious as to what happened to me. But the main thing is, who's responsible for her being there? Was she being paid? There are consistent reports that these protesters or the core group are actually paid professionals. Well, if you are paying someone to confront ICE officers, i.e. commit a felony in such a manner that somebody could get hurt, so it's now a dangerous federal felony, and somebody dies, are you not legally liable for that murder? Felony murder statute. Everyone involved in the felony is liable for any death that happens in the felony. Not a death committed by one of the conspirators, but any death. If one of the conspirators has a heart attack and dies, it can be everyone's, okay, you all go to jail for murder. Interesting possibilities here, And so I say that's the sort of thing that I'm wondering if somebody's looking into that. Because if they are, and all of a sudden organizers are told very clearly by the courts, because people are being hauled off and charged with first-degree murder, you better not encourage people to break the law, or you are responsible for what happens anywhere. You got hundreds of people out there. If any one of them does something that even accidentally gets someone killed, you are going to go to jail for murder. They'd probably be a little bit more careful. They give written instructions, do not do this. You can do this legally. You can't do that. Blah, blah, blah. Hey, Jean-François. Really? Took effect today, huh? Interesting. Jean-François, who's a pretty smart character, says that this Basel III agreement, of which I'm unfamiliar, I know what Basel I and II essentially were. They were financial agreements. But he says it's going to cause the price of gold and silver to skyrocket. And that's exactly what I'm saying. Now, according to the rumor mill, somebody's looking into this funding and what the organization is and such. I would tend to agree with that, Mr. Virtue. If nothing else, any serious threat to the economic system, I think, will cause the price of gold and silver to skyrocket. Agreements to jack the price of gold as high as 20,000 per ounce. I'm sure the guys in Central America would be happy for that. But yeah, I say it's an interesting time to be alive. You know, as the ancient Chinese curse, may you live in interesting times. It is. It's very complicated. A lot of moving parts, moving pretty quickly. I am sure that Trump would love for the Iran regime to fall. You know, that would save a lot of problems. But it's going to create a bunch of secondary effects. And is it going to fall either A, pretty much by itself, B, with a modest amount of help, or C, no, it's not going to fall? I don't know. I really don't know. Oh yeah, same here, Jean-Francois. When I was taking my concealed weapons course, the guy said, "You're responsible for that bullet. If some guy's trying to kill you and you shoot at him and it goes through him and hits an innocent bystander, you're liable for that innocent bystander's injuries. Okay? That's your fault. Not the guy you put the bullet through. It's your fault because you fired the bullet." So yeah, that's the thing with it. And again, my daughter is not a gun nut or whatever, so she never investigated or was educated in the law of self-defense and you know, deadly force. So she's looking at this, and I love, first of all, I love both my daughters. Good people. Very proud of them. But my youngest daughter, I especially like because she is what I would call an honest liberal, not a progressive, a liberal. Okay. She was brought up in the liberal progressive atmosphere, but she's got a head on her shoulders and she can see things. But I mean, so I can talk to her about stuff and I will understand how a middle of the road lefty would perceive something like this. Okay. And so I can understand what's going on better. I love that about that. I also love being able to talk to her about things we disagree with without it degenerating into a yelling match. And so, as I say, it's interesting because, say, I know her heart. I know she's trying to do the right thing and stuff, but she sees the world differently, and this helps me understand how someone else sees the world differently. And I think that's great. I really appreciate that. So anyhow, as I say, I think gold and silver are pretty good bets. You know, Ziba would say, back up the truck. As Asian silver guy would say, back up. He did the other day. That was funny. Eva says that whoever's running that does pay attention to the silver sub on Reddit because certain things have happened that were connected to what they commented about him, sort of thing. So I say that's kind of interesting, but aside from that, I'm not sure of anything. And to get back to the results, zinc wire seems to work for testing solution, but doesn't seem to give any clearer results than copper wire. The copper wire seems to be a little bit clearer. The recent samples were kind of in the same line as the previous samples. I used a whole bunch of hydrogen peroxide, more than possibly could be used. If it was efficiently converting sulfides into iron oxides, I wouldn't have used near that much. So something's going sideways there. I think it's just getting catalytically decomposed in some way. The tailing sample came back still 2 grams of gold assay in the tailings. That tailings needs to be checked out and see if there's any way we can reprocess it cheaply. Um, and so I'm still like, yeah, run it over some VDR mat and see what happens. That's what I recommended to the guys today is like, you really need to get that VDR mat in the tailings and see what happens. But so they're also currently working on exposing a new access point in the ore body that in the past showed much higher grade, and therefore they anticipate the ore grade to the mill going up, which would be really, really good. Just the copper itself, the copper itself, I think speeds it up a little bit. It also makes it a little easier to see. The larger copper just makes it easier to see. That's all. Okay. The 8-gauge copper wire is a lot easy to visualize what the surface looks like. Mat. Well, the mat is the Devon Gold VDR mat. It's vortexes with, rectangular cross-section riffles between rows of vortices. It's the feed to the mat is 100 mesh minus because it's come out of the ball mill. And the idea is to try and see if we can scavenge any remaining sulfides or gold particles as the tailings are heading away to disposal. It wouldn't have to be super duper efficient. I mean, if it was even 50% recovery, first of all, then you can put longer mats. But I mean, in a 10-ton shift, you'd be pushing between $2,000 and $3,000 of gold going down the disposal. Literally going down the drain, $2,000 or $3,000. If you could recover half of that simply and cheaply just by putting in some sluices with the VDR matting, yeah, that would be good. Picking up $1,000, $1,500 a day, yeah, that's a good start. Yeah, let's see what else. 150 pounds of high purity crystalline zinc sheet from scavenging. Sweet. That could come in handy someday, Jean-Francois. By the way, I found this Monster Energy Ultra Fantasy Ruby Red. Tastes pretty good in my opinion. Kind of a fruity type flavor. But anyhow, I say that needs to be tested. As I understand it, it's probably going to be at least a couple weeks before they finish excavating into that new work area. I mean, there's old tunnels there that got buried while they were accessing stuff above it. Everything, you know how gravity works. So now they're moving it out so they can get to the old tunnels. And so if they can increase the ore to the mill, because this it was not a good sample, a good quality sample, because basically he was just picking up the debris next to the tray feeder that takes the hammer mill output and feeds it into the ball mill. Okay, there's always a little bit of spillage, and he's like, well, should this be a good sample? It's like, it's a lot better than no sample. In terms of representative, it might be, but it could also have a systematic discrepancy because the thing that's going to fall down there is going to tend to be the coarser chunks. Okay. And fine stuff's going to tend to blow away or this or that or the other. So you're going to have a sizing bias there that may or may not cause a grade bias. I don't know, you know, and the sample was of poor grade though, you know, which is not entirely unexpected considering what they've been running recently. So that's not shockingly different from what I might expect. It's the sort of thing that looking at this, like, well, I guess the concentration is doing pretty good then, you know. So let's say they do need to increase the grade to the mill. That's a serious issue, and they are addressing that vigorously at the moment. I suspect in another week or so that may come and visit, because they'd like to visit me before they head back down there, and they're going to head back down there once they've opened up the new working area. So I expect to visit in a week or two, so I can kind of show them a little hands-on on some stuff. So they've got a good idea. I mean, they've never done a titration. They've never done a fire assay of a resin or anything like that. So that would be helpful for them to get a little bit of hands-on. They never stripped resin either, but I don't have the electrolytic cells, so I can't help them with that. And I need to build another one of those too. That would be another project I can get to. Yeah. So, as I say, that's kind of what's going on, and we will see. It is possible. I've seen some indications in the past that these fire assays are inaccurate on the low side. I've got various ways of double checking that, which I will. Okay, and we'll go from there. But it's going to be days before before I can get those solution assays back. He's pretty busy. It's kind of a low priority. Should have it by the end of the week. But anyhow, I'll go ahead and just, do some other stuff that I can. I'll figure out what I want to do for bottle rolling, the solutions I have. Put in some resin, do some resin and pulp. Then I'll have lots of resins that I need to smelt, and say that'll, give me some things to do there. So that's basically what's going on. Does anyone have any specific questions or subjects or anything to bring up? Yeah, those are pretty refractory, all right, honey bunny. Can't help you on that. I see. How to dewater pregnant slime. Okay. You can set it over a filter medium. It takes a while to filter it out. If you're using a resin and pulp, that's what really shines in that situation, is carbon or resin and pulp, because you don't have to get the water away from it, the solution away from it. He can't do vacuum desiccation, honey bunny, because he needs to recover the solution, not just the water. So he can't vaporize it. He's got to physically separate solids and liquids. Another thing you can do is you can take let it settle as much as possible, decant, then add solution, let it settle, stir it, let it settle and decant. And by doing these successive dilutions, you can get the leftover amount of golden solution down to as low as you want in terms of how much time do you want to take. If you're cutting it in half each operation, well, half, pretty soon it gets pretty small. If you had, say, well, let's suppose you had 2 parts solution to 1 part solids, and you settle it and decant it and recover 2/3 of your solution. Okay. And that's pretty clear solution. You can recover from that. Then you can either add different solution that's barren, or once that's barren, throw it back in, stir it up, let it settle again. And again, now you've got 2/3 of the remaining gold in the solution you can decant and get to. Take that down to barren, send it back in, stir it up again, like that. It depends on how much time and money you want to spend doing it. But diluting and decanting sequentially will, get you there, Yeah, that would cause some interesting conflicts and competitions, Jean-Francois. I'm not sure what you're talking about, David. If it's what I'm thinking of, that'll recover gravity gold, but it doesn't recover gold in solution. Okay. Yeah, in that case, it should be fairly simple. What are you using to get the gold out of solution? Cementation, electrolysis, or what? I said, what is your method of recovering the gold from the solution? That's one advantage of the resin and pulp. You don't have to do a solid liquid separation. You just have to, put it in there and circulate it. Zinc, yeah. Let's say just decant it, do your cementation, then take the same solution, throw it back in, stir it up again, decant it again. Voila. Say, if you take your time, you can get as much out as you want. Hey, picking it up. Well, 2025 was a little bit complicated. Picking it up. I don't know if you know, I had a heart attack and a life-threatening nosebleed, and Eva tomorrow will be finishing her treatments for cancer. So it's been a bit of an eventful year, but not eventful in a good way. This coming year should be, it promises to be a pretty interesting year. We got Jeff Kablock showing up in town, well, in Montana, to do some work 35 miles from here. And where I'm working hard with these guys down in Central America. If we get that working well, then they will probably set me up here somewhere with a house and a shop and a lab so that I can be working, pretty diligently on stuff that they need. So, yeah, let's say the future is looking interesting. But yeah, last year kind of sucked. Oh my goodness. Yeah, the laws are making it difficult, but they're also, what the Trump administration is working hard to ease those laws. So we'll see how that all works out. Just one, honey bunny, just one, do you die? Yep, that's true, Jean-Francois. Thank you, Mr. Virtue. She is sleeping right at the moment. Let me go check on, make sure her head's in a good position while we're at it. Yep, her airway's just fine. Yeah, by the way, did you hear about the new smelter opening up in Tennessee, folks? With financing costs about $7.4 billion, they're opening a new refinery / smelter somewhere in Tennessee. I forget the name, but copper, lead, zinc, a bunch of other metals. They'll be producing large quantities of sulfuric acid. That's a byproduct of scrubbing the exhaust. But they're also going to be making, it didn't say how much, but apparently a significant quantity of semiconductor grade sulfuric acid. Now you combine that with the $200 billion they're putting into the Phoenix area in semiconductor manufacturing. That's interesting. I also know of at least one other group looking to build a smelter somewhere out west. It's basically copper, zinc, lead, gold, silver, and there are some other lesser known metals. Not really rare earths, but like germanium or things. I forget exactly what it was. But anyhow. Yeah, it's pretty clear it was sulfide ores. I would not be surprised, Jean-Francois. They're sneaky that way. This new smelter is being put in by Korea Zinc. Okay. No, they're not going to poison it. That's the thing. This is a state-of-the-art smelter. This is going to be, it's not going to be polluting all over the place. That's one of the reasons why it makes a bunch of sulfuric acid. I haven't heard of any projected as of now, Mr. Virtue. I heard that it was probably going to be going in Nevada for regulatory reasons. They would like to put it in Montana. Okay. But we've got too many greenie weenies up here. So probably not going to be able to. They're building it here. It's their money. They're building it here. And as you'll be happy to know, honey bunny, 40% of the financing is being put up by the Department of War. I'm guessing the Department of War has dibs on a lot of that output. That's exactly what I'm looking at, Jean-Francois. It sounded to me like this was getting the whole supply chain together. You know, Trump is a sneaky son of a gun, and he likes to have the entire supply chain in the United States. And so that's my guess. We got lead for bullets. We've got, silver for our electronics. We got all this kind of stuff for our weapon systems and our fabrication. That's what I'm thinking is going on. Oh, we'll see, honey bunny. It's only going to be honest if we keep a close eye on them and throw people in jail. So, like I said, but I know they're working on other smelters and refineries also. But it's kind of like Japan after World War II. All their industry was destroyed, so they built new tech, what was state of the art at the time, and put them in a competitive advantage. Now we're the ones going to be building the new tech, Exactly, Jean-Francois. Yeah, it's not going to be instantaneous. As I understand, they're basically going to have to build it from scratch. Even on a crash project, it's going to take years. But they're building those chip manufacturing stuff in Phoenix. They ain't going to be done next week. So if you build them all simultaneously, they all go operational simultaneously. Interesting. Yeah, I read somewhere that it was $200 billion are being invested in the Phoenix area for semiconductor manufacturing. That is a lot of money. I'm wondering where they're going to get the electricity and the water. I suppose if they don't already make, we could just take a lot of the energy from Palo Verde nuclear power plant, instead of selling it to California, just use it in Arizona. I'm not sure what the quality of that plant is, but I wouldn't bet on it going unused for very long. And the price of sulfuric acid now, the ultra pure stuff, yeah, but I don't think they need 27 rail cars a year. A day for that. Whereas on the other hand, the Hayden smelter there in Arizona makes 60 rail cars a day of sulfuric acid. This stuff that's going into Phoenix is supposedly absolute state of the art. I'm thinking the Taiwanese want to get a lot of their tech out of Taiwan just in case. But that's where they're moving their super advanced chip manufacturing too. That's the plan. So it's there is a lot of stuff going on right now. This is all part of the same plan. It's a big, complicated plan. But it seems to go everywhere from mining to processing to manufacturing. The whole thing. They're working on all of these things. So could work out okay. We'll see. Oh, really? Interesting. Yeah, exactly, honey bunny. That's the whole idea. Put the value added stuff here, not there. Absolutely. Inhumanation, huh? I haven't seen that before. Hey, thank you very much for showing up, Inhumanation. Uh, we're going to do the best we can. We got a lot of interesting stuff lined up theoretically. Um, should be an interesting year. It's going to be pretty lackluster for the next month or so as Eva recovers from her treatments, and then we'll see what happens. I could see just a whole lot of stuff going on. We shall see. So, any other subjects or questions? How about you, Inhumanation? You got any specific questions or anything that you'd like to talk about? Because I've been so stuck at home, so to speak, I'm really not generating a lot of new, interesting stuff. Oh, well, thank you, Inhumanation. I try. Let's say, if you ever got any questions, you can always either just comment on one of the videos. I should get the comment because I keep my channel modest for that reason. But also, you can always come into our chat, 6 o'clock Montana time, every Monday evening, and ask in particular. We always like questions and stuff because it tends to drive interesting conversations. I tend to ramble on a bit. Oh. So, let's see, what do we got? Claws and Paws, huh? Oh, you're most welcome, Claws to Paws. Again, I don't recall seeing yours before, so welcome, etc. Sweet, Jean-Francois. Hope things go smoothly on that one. Is the situation in Cameroon fairly stable? Some parts are, some parts aren't. Yeah, exactly, Ryan. You always want to recycle if at all possible. It saves a lot of chemicals, and it saves a lot of disposal issues. Yeah, I've got to do some more testing of spent solution too. Cameroon's not South Africa. Yeah. Use appropriate caution, Jean-Francois. I have no advice to give you on that one. Geologist kidnapping. Well, that's not good. You're not supposed to get kidnapped. That's counterproductive, and the food's probably not that great either. Okay. Brings up an interesting point. Do the contracts normally pay you for the time that you're kidnapped? Inquiring minds want to know. Oh, it's fairly warm right now. Let me double check. Oh, come on, Keith. It's currently 52 degrees in Helena, Montana. Tomorrow the high is 55, Wednesday 51, Thursday 45, Friday 37, Saturday 42, Sunday 41, and Monday 45. Yeah, it is warm. It should be, I don't know, about 0 degrees right now. If it was last year, this would be the time of year where it was cycling between negative numbers and 0 during the day. Yep. So anyhow, as that's it really is warm this winter. Hello, Jeff. How's it going? No, it would actually be workable. You're right. Any gold mines running right now in Montana? Actually operating at the moment. I don't know of any significant ones right now. I know some that are being planned and they're putting them in. It's cold here in Florida. Well, that's pretty weird, Jeff. Oh my gosh. Lauren was out a couple days ago ice fishing. He said he did pretty good. Yeah, claws to paws. Yeah, we go to Missoula every once in a while. Eva's got a doctor there. I now have a doctor there. Friday will be 32. We're warmer than you, Jeff. Oh. Oh my goodness. Wow. Yeah. Climate's what you expect. Weather's what you get. I guess Sweden's cold right now. Oh. I'm looking forward to doing some stuff with you this summer, Jeff. That should be fun. Oh. Yep. If you hear about any properties, probably not right at the moment, but in the next couple of months that have any kind of modest dwelling on them or any kind of reasonable dwelling and some kind of shop sort of facility that's for rent or for sale, if you'd let me know, I'd appreciate it at a reasonable price, because the boys, if we get this mine running pretty good, they may rent or purchase something like that to put me in so that I can work more efficiently for them, you know? Whatever happened to Montana Bee is currently on hiatus because we're getting down, the ore grade was not holding up. It wasn't meeting projections. It was supposed to be an ounce to the ton or better, and it was more like a third of an ounce to the ton, which really didn't pay the bills. So we were getting as good a grade up there at top of the hill, and the mining was a lot easier. You know, we could get a full load of ore in about a day and a half. Whereas a Montana Bee, it would take us a lot more time, more effort to get it. But that's why it's still there. It's still easily operational. But yeah, we'll see if the price keeps going up and up and up. It'd be quite profitable pretty quick. Yeah, the only problem with Top of the Hill is on Forest Service land, and you can't hardly do anything up there legally without a lot of permitting effort, which is kind of annoying. And the other thing about top of the hill was we never could find a good vein in place. There's clearly some there somewhere, but right there, like the Discovery Cabin and the Lower Discovery Cabin, there's something there, but how are you going to exploit it without getting some permits and moving in an excavator to clear some stuff out? Whereas at Montana B, it's BLM land, and apparently BLM is a lot easier to deal with. At least that particular guy at BLM. And there are some other properties the claim owner has that are actually patented ground. So there was, some thoughts there. He's very circumspect. And so I'm not sure exactly what he wants to do. I do what he asked me to do, etc. And the other plans are kind of, I don't know what's going on in his head. So we shall see. But I've been focusing almost all my efforts on the Central America project right now. And we'll see how it all works out. So that's kind of where we're at there. There's lots of interesting stuff going on in Montana, but Jeff Kablock is the only one that I'm right there with, so to speak, that we should be doing something this summer. And we'll see what happens there. Central America, gosh, I'm not sure what the situation is going to be health-wise, because being close to hospitals is coming pretty handy this year. Specifically, with that nosebleed, if that had happened to me when we were like out there at that, in that Top of the Hill area where we were going to the timbered shaft and like that, that's quite the hike. I would have died because I would have bled out before I got back, unless we could have figured out some way to stop it. I would have bled out. So we have to, consider these things in the future. Yeah, I've got my, Rhino rocket, which I hope never to have to use myself. It's tough enough just not moving when a doctor's shoving it up your nose. But I would love to go down to Central America and do some stuff down there too. We were hoping to do it this winter. But my health is questionable, and Eva's, she got to get her cancer treatment and stuff. So we shall see what we shall see when it comes to that. I'd really love to go down there for a month or so with Eva. That would be way cool. But I don't know how practical that's going to be in the near future. Maybe by next winter is a reasonable possibility. Thank you, Inhumanation. Appreciate you stopping by. Is there self-coverage at the Central America mine? I think there's some close by. I know that when they go to the residences for the evening, there's cell coverage. You know. Yeah, sounds really good, Jean-Francois. Again, I haven't even got to that point. We still got to get our passports renewed. But anyhow, that's kind of where we're at on that. Sounds good to me, honey bunny. Okay, any other subjects for discussion or anything like that? Any questions? He was weird. She can sit there and she can lay on the couch with her head like this and just hold it there while she sleeps. You know, I got to have it laying on something, but she apparently doesn't. It looks kind of spooky. Okay, second call. Any questions or subjects for anything? Yellow fever. How good is the yellow fever vaccination, Jean-Francois? What is a good assay outfit? Okay, that question can be answered in different ways depending upon what you mean. If you're talking about a place that does small assays at reasonable price, small amounts of assays at reasonable prices and quick return times, I use Lawrence Hiddle there at, do I still have the thing? Yeah, here we go. Right there. Fast fire assay. Okay. He does a reasonably good job. He's quick. If it needs final pulverization, it's $45 an assay. If it's already a fine pulp, it's $35 an assay. So that's who I use for most of my assaying. Now, there's big companies. You got lots of samples, and you don't mind a long return time. You can get a little bit better pricing than that. But your return times can be ridiculous. I shipped out samples Tuesday last week. I got the numbers today. And so he calls it fast fire assay for a reason. Now, that's all he does is fire assay. So you can't do a confirmation assay with an aqua reach of digestion or do a multi-element analysis or some of those other stuff which needs a bigger lab. But it's just one of those things that for the most small guys, I think he's pretty hard to beat. Okay. There's also Chris Christopherson in somewhere near Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. He does pretty good work, but costs more, takes longer. Anyhow, any other questions? You're welcome, Claus to Pause. I say that for most the people watching this channel, he's going to be awfully tough to beat. We tried using, what was it? ALS Global last spring. Man, the time and everything was a pain in the butt. And by the time they got their extra fees and stuff in there, it cost us more than it would have if we just sent it to Hiddle. We got, parallel stuff to confirmation assays. That's always a good thing to do too. Get the occasional confirmation assay. All righty. Well, I think we'll go ahead and call it a night. I gotta, check on Eva and stuff. And goodness, is it 8 o'clock? Almost 8 o'clock. I got it. She's got it. Yep. Yeah, I'm gonna have to wake Eva up so she can take a pain pill. Anyhow, happy prospecting and keep it safe out there. Hopefully I'll have some more fun stuff next week. I should have some solution assays, and I'll be doing some fire assays myself. Thank you, Mr. Virtue. Thank you, Honey Bunny, Jean-Francois. Thank you, everybody, for showing up. I appreciate it. Good night. End stream.